April 14th, 1944. 3:17 a.m. Stalag Luft III, Segin, Poland. Lieutenant Davy Jones. The bitter wind howls through the barbed wire like a banshee, slicing into your skin as you huddle in the shadows of Block 107. Your breath fogs the air, a ghostly plume in the flashlight's dim glow. Sawdust rains down from the tunnel ceiling above each grain, a whisper of betrayal, threatening to bury you alive. Davy grips the wooden brace, knuckles white, heart pounding like a jackhammer. One wrong move, and the whole 30-foot deep shaft collapses. "Steady, lads," whispers Flight Lieutenant Roger Bushell, his South African accent cutting the tension like a knife. The mastermind of the Great Escape, eyes burning with defiance. "We're not dying in Hitler's rat trap. Not tonight." You can almost taste the damp earth, choking and metallic, as Davy claws at the tunnel wall with a sharpened table knife. Months of this night stolen from sleep, tunneling 300 feet under the snow-swept compound. Real pose, real stakes. 600 officers plotting the biggest breakout in history. No Hollywood glamour, just calloused hands bleeding into the clay. Flashback just hours earlier. The trapdoor in hut 104 creaks open under the floorboards. Peter Stevens, the German-born Jew flying for the RAF, slides down the rope ladder first. His forged paper's identity as a Swedish engineer named Carl Hacker tucked in his greatcoat. Tension coils like a spring. Outside, guards patrol with Schmeissers slung low, their boots crunching frozen gravel. Davy follows, then Andy, the manufacturer, MacDonald, lugging a rucksack of civilian clothes sewn from prison blankets. The air grows thicker, oxygen lamps flickering yellow. What if the Germans hear? The ferrets, those sniffing dogs, have grown wise to the vibrations. Last week, they almost found the entrance. Sweat beads on Bushell's forehead, despite the freeze. "Pace it," he hisses. 20 minutes per shift. No mistakes. But mistakes lurk everywhere. A collapsed section 2 nights ago trapped 2 men for hours, gasping in the dark. Davy feels it now, the tunnel narrowing, walls pressing in like a coffin. Claustrophobia claws at his gut. Is this freedom or madness? They reach the end. Fresh air? No, just more dirt. MacDonald starts hacking, dirt flying into the trolley. Pull it back by rope, dump it discreetly in the huts. Genius cover, trousers with false bottoms, penging the soil out during yard exercise. But tonight, the real test. The tunnel breaks surface right in the woods beyond the wire, or into open snow, lit by searchlights? Davy's turn to listen at the exhaust pipe, jury-rigged to the surface. Silence, then a crunch. Footsteps? A guard? His pulse thunders. One shout, and it's over. Rifles, machine guns, the Gestapo's cold cells. But they wait, breathe, push on. The first man emerges into the night-black sky, pine trees whispering secrets. Success. But as Davy hauls himself up, a light sweeps the woods. Too close. Hearts stop. Did they see? Will the escapees vanish into the forest, or trigger the alarm that dooms them all? The light slices through the pines like a scythe, freezing Davy mid-crawl. Snow crunches under his palms. Too loud, too final. He flattens against the frozen earth, breath held as the beam dances inches from his boot. Beside him, Peter Stevens whispers a curse in German, his forged passport clutched like a talisman. The guard's silhouette looms, cigarette glowing red in the dark. One drag. 2, then gone. The beam swings away, boots fading into the night. Relief floods them like stolen oxygen, but there's no time to savor it. Bushell pokes his head up, scans the tree line. Scatter as planned. Norway route for you 3. Sweden border. Move. Davy nods, shouldering his rucksack civilian trousers, a forged Ausweis pass, naming him Hugo Mueller, locksmith from Dresden. Real papers painstakingly printed on smuggled presses. Real risks, Gestapo checkpoints bristling with suspicion. They melt into the forest, 8 shadows at first, then more 20, 30, emerging like wraiths from the tunnel mouth. The Great Escape is alive. Flight Lieutenant Desmond Plunkett, the navigator with a knack for stars, leads Davy's group north. Moonlight filters through branches, turning snow to silver daggers. You can hear it, the distant bark of goons, the German shepherds straining at leashes. But the woods swallow them whole. Hours blur into a frozen march. Feet numb in paper-soled boots improvised from prison rags. Hunger gnaws like a rat. Davy chews a boiled potato from his rations, eyes scanning for rails. The plan? Hitch rides on trains, pose as workers fleeing Allied bombs. Real genius, compasses hidden in chessboard heels, maps sewn into lining silk maps, indestructible. Dawn creeps gray over the horizon, a farmhouse silhouette. Risk it? Plunkett signals halt. Smoke curls from the chimney life, warmth, maybe help. Or betrayal. In occupied Poland, locals whisper to the Gestapo for bread rations. Davy's mind races. That story from the camp, the French POW, caught by a farmer's wife for a sack of flour. They knock. Door creaks open. An old woman, eyes wide, crosses herself. Arbeiters? She mutters, glancing at their papers. Plunkett spins the tail bombings in Sagan, fleeing to family. She hesitates, then waves them in. Bread, milk, a barn to hide. But as they slump in the hay, a truck rumbles past outside. German voices. Too close. Her son? A neighbor? Davy's hand inches to the concealed knife. Trust no one. Not here. The woman returns with a radio scrap BBC broadcast crackling. Allies advance in Italy. Hope flickers. But then footsteps in the yard. Heavy, deliberate. The door to the barn rattles. Are they walking into a trap laid by the very hands that fed them? The barn door splinters inward with a crack like gunfire. Davy lunges for the shadows, knife drawn, heart slamming against his ribs. Plunkett grabs a pitchfork. Stevens freezes mid-breath. But it's just the old woman, her son behind her young, gaunt, clutching a lantern that throws wild shadows across the hay bales. No rifles. No whistles. Just fear in their eyes, mirroring Davy's own. Go. Now, the son hisses in broken German, shoving coats at them. Patrols everywhere. Tunnel found at dawn goons swarming the camp like hornets. The words hit like ice water. Bushell's masterpiece discovered 76 men out, but alarms wailing across Sagan. Davy glimpses the truth in the boys' trembling hands. They're risking everything. A radio hidden under floorboards, tuned to Allied frequencies. Anti-Nazis in the heart of the Reich. They bolt into the gray morning, farm boots crunching snow as the family waves from the doorway ghosts fading behind. The forest thickens, pines clawing at the sky. Davy's group, now 5, 2 lagging from frostbite, stumbles onto a rail line snaking north. Train tracks gleam like veins of silver promising speed. But also death. Every station a Gestapo net. Plunkett checks his chess-heel compass. Freiburg, 40 miles. Freight cars to Sweden. They wait in the underbrush, bellies empty, watching steam belch from an approaching locomotive. Coal cars rumble past black, filthy salvation. Davy swings aboard first, wedging into the icy darkness. The train lurches forward, Poland blurring outside. You can feel the jolt through your bones, the scream of iron on iron drowning thought. But freedom's fragile. Hours in, the train screeches to a halt. Voices bark orders. Halt at a siding routine check? Or manhunt? Davy peers through a crack. SS officers, lanterns sweeping cars, dogs snarling on chains. Rouse! Papers! One wrong face, one crumpled forgery, And it's the end. Stevens mutters a prayer, his Swedish engineer guys cracking under sweat. The door to their car grates open. Boots on gravel. A flashlight beam stabs the gloom. Davy presses deeper into coal dust, choking silently. The beam lingers seconds stretched to eternity. A cough escapes Plunkett. The light snaps toward it. Rifles cock? Discovery? One breath away from chains or a desperate leap into the unknown? The beam locks on Plunkett's silhouette, coal dust swirling like smoke from a battlefield. Davy tenses, knife hilt slick in his palm fight or flight, no middle ground. But the SS man snarls something guttural, kicks a loose plank, and slams the door shut. "Nice!" he bellows to his comrades. The train shudders alive again, iron wheels grinding forward into the Polish dusk. No shots, no alarms. Just the gods of war turning a blind eye, this once. Darkness cloaks the freight car, broken only by slivers of fading light. Davy exhales, tasting coal and survival. The group shifts 5 men crammed like sardines, whispers trading stories to kill the fear. Stevens recounts his pre-war life in Berlin, fleeing Nazis as a Jew, only to bomb them from Spitfires. Irony bites deep. Plunkett sketches the route on frost-rimed wood, Sagan to the Baltic, and ferries or stolen boats to neutral Sweden. 400 miles of hell. Night deepens. The train rattles through hamlets, station lights winking like predatory eyes. Hunger sharpens rations gone. They gnaw frozen potatoes, stomachs twisting. Davy dreams awake of Bournemouth beaches, his wife's letters hidden in camp, now ashes in his mind. What if he never sees her? Real stakes. 76 escapees, but recapture means the cooler, solitary, or worse. Bushell's briefing echoes. Expect no mercy. Fight to the last. Dawn paints the cracks pink. Another stop longer this time. Engines idle. Voices multiply outside. Freight check-allied saboteurs reported. Davy's blood runs cold. The grate escapes ripples spreading like fire. Door pries open again. This time a Wehrmacht sergeant, less zealous than SS, but thorough. Aussteigen. Documents. Their turn. Stevens steps forward first, Swedish accent flawless. Engineer to Stockholm. Papers here. The sergeant squints at the forgery, stamps it roughly. Passed. But Plunkett fumbles his Ausweis, smudged from sweat. What's this? Ink fresh? The man's hand drifts to his Luger. Davy holds breath, world narrowing to that pistol grip. A shout from down the line distracts another car, real workers protesting. The sergeant curses, waves them through. Schnell. Next train waits for none. They tumble off into a rail yard fog, hearts hammering. Freiburg station. Crowds, chaos, a chance to vanish. Davy spots a passenger train idling, Malin-bound civilians milling. Bold move blend in? Plunkett nods. They slip aboard a third-class car, posing as laborers. Seats hard, air thick with tobacco and despair. A woman eyes them suspiciously, whispers to her husband. Paranoia prickles Davy's neck. As the train pulls out, acceleration thrumming victory, a conductor punches tickets. His gaze lingers on Davy's face too clean-shaven for a worker. Questions form on his lips. Will a single suspicious glance unravel their fragile disguise amid the rush of steel and steam? The conductor's eyes narrow, ticket punch hovering like a guillotine. Davy forces a weary slouch, rubbing coal-grimed hands together worker weary, not officer sharp. Dresden locksmith, he mutters, sliding the Ausweis across with a shrug. Bombings chased me north. The man grunts, stamps it without flourish, moves on. Sweat trickles down Davy's spine as the train surges into open country. Fields white under winter sun. Close, too close. Steam hisses from the locomotive, blurring windows into ghostly veils. Inside the compartment, tension uncoils just enough, for Talkhushed vital. Plunkett unfolds a silk map fragment under his coat. Rail lines spider webbing toward Danzig. Baltic ports humming with U-boats and smugglers. Split here, he whispers. Stevens and I to the docks. You 3 civilian trucks inland, circle to Sweden. Davy nods, mind-mapping contingencies. Real escapes weren't linear. They zigzagged like hares from hounds. A train disgorges them at a junction town Posen, midday bustle masking the manhunt. Civilians shuffle past bomb craters, ration cards clutched like lifelines. Davy's group peels off into markets. Sauerkraut stalls, black market whispers. They pool forged Reichsmarks for bread, cheese luxuries tasting of liberty. A newsboy hawks papers. 76 RAF terroristen fleeing Stalag. Reichsführer Himmler personlich Jat. Faces turn, eyes hunting. Davy's forged beard itches, civilian cap pulled low. They hitch with a lorry driver hauling timber-gaunt pole, sullen under Nazi whip. Going north? Plunkett asks in halting polish. The man spits. To hell, Navy. Take cover checkpoints ahead. The lorry rumbles onto potholed roads. Luftwaffe wrecks rusting in ditches. Conversation dies as a barrier looms. Sandbags, machine gun nests, fell gendarmerie waving vehicles down. Papier! Halt! Panic surges. Driver curses. Papers in order, but theirs? Davy clutches his Ausweis. Heart a war drum. The gendarme, a pockmarked brute, snatches it. Peers close. Mueller, huh? From Sagan? Describe the bombings. Improvise. Luftangriff, last recuts gone. Families buried. The man smirks, but doubt flickers. Radio crackles in his kiosk. Urgent bulletins, escapee sketches matching their builds. He glances up sharply, hand on holster. You? Out. Face the wall. Stevens shifts uneasily behind. Is this the snag? The Gestapo van idling nearby? One lie too far, or a bribe that buys them another dawn? Davy's boots hit gravel, arms rising slow as the gendarme's mouser prods his back. Wall! Hand ho. The other 2, Plunkett and a limping Canadian named Tim Cole, flank him, faces to cold stone. The checkpoint hums with menace. Diesel fumes, barking dogs, civilians queued in shivering lines. Stevens and the driver wait in the lorry cab, engines idling like a countdown. One word from this brute, and chains snap shut. The gendarme circles, breath reeking of schnapps, rifling Davy's pockets. Wallet spills forged marks, a fake labor card, even a crumpled photo of Frau Müller, really a camp pinup clipped from a magazine. Sagan, you say? Factory hit hard? His voice drips skepticism, eyes tracing the newsprint sketches pinned to the kiosk. Bushell's sharp jaw, Peter's dark eyes. Close enough to haunt. Davy meets his stare, channeling every Berlin street tough he'd mimicked in camp drills. Ja, Herr Feldwebel. Roof caved on the night, shift 20 dead. I'm chasing work in Danzig, wife starving. Plunkett chimes in from the wall, Polish accent thick. Same for us. Timber crew. Bombs don't care. The gendarme pauses, radio spitting updates. Escapees sighted near Breslau II recaptured, executed on spot. Executed. The word lands like shrapnel. Real horror. Himmler's order, no trials for terror flyers. A bribe forms in Davy's mind, those smuggled marks burning a hole. Risky. Greed could flip to greedier betrayal. The brute leans in, finger jabbing Davy's chest. You look too healthy for a bombed-out rat. Strip the coat. Heart stops. Beneath. RAF wool. Unmistakable blue. No time. Davy slips 250 Reichsmark notes into the man's gloved palm during the pat-down subtle, desperate. For your trouble, Herr. Cold work, this. Greed wins. The gendarme pockets it, smirks. Pass. But Danzig crawls with them, watch your back. Wave through. They pile into the lorry, knees weak as it grinds past the barrier. Laughter bubbles up manic, disbelieving. Driver glances back. Crazy English. Gestapo pays 1,000 marks per head. You owe me. Freedom bought in blood money. One more debt in the ledger. Roads twist north, snow flurries veiling the world. Danzig looms by Duskport City, pulsing with U-boat horns, cranes groaning under Kriegsmarine flags. Plunkett splits the group. Docks for us. You two smugglers' alleys to the coast. Handshakes, maps exchanged. Davy and Cole melt into the throng. Sailors, whores, black marketeers hawking ersatz coffee. A Swedish freighter whispers in the harbor salvation. But posters everywhere. Feindlich Flieger gesucht sofort melden. And in the fog, a figure watches from the shadows. Ally? Informer? As night cloaks the port, does the watcher signal rescue or summon the hounds? Fog rolls off the Baltic like a shroud, swallowing Danzig's docks in milky silence. Davy and Cole hug warehouse walls, salt air stinging their lungs, the watcher's silhouette dissolving into vapor. Friend or foe? No time to guess. U-boat klaxons wail in the distance. Cranes screech like banshees. They need a boat, any boat, to punch through to Sweden's embrace, 100 miles across icy waves. Alleys twist like veins through the waterfront maze, fish guts underfoot, drunken sailors staggering from Gasthaus doors. Davy barters his forged marks for a flask of schnapps, loosening tongues. Swedish freighter? V. Dagmar leaves at midnight, slurs a one-eyed stevedore, pocketing coin. Captain Olsen takes. Passengers. For a price. Risky code for smuggling Jews deserters. Now RAF ghosts. Cole grins wolfishly. Lead on. They weave past Gestapo patrols, black leather coats gleaming under arc lights, truncheons tapping palms. Posters flap in the wind. Escapee faces, rewards balloon to 5,000 marks. Davies pulses with every shadow. The Dagmar hulks at Pier 7, rust-streaked hull whispering neutrality. Ropes creak as deckhands load crates stamped Stockholm. Olsen? A grizzled Viking in the wheelhouse, binoculars scanning the quay. Cole slips forward, seaman swagger from pre-war merchant days. Captain? Passage north, 2 workers. Good hands. Olsen eyes them hard, Norwegian growl thick. Papers. And 500 kroner each. No questions? Kroner? Swedish currency another hurdle. Davy palms the last marks, converted on the sly. Olsen sniffs them, nods. Aboard. But if patrol's board, you're fish food. They scramble up the gangway, hearts soaring as it retracts. Cabin fever swaps for salt spray thrill. Balautics, hammocks sway amid crates of ball bearings, war contraband? No matter. Midnight chimes, engines throb to life. Danzig recedes, lighthouse beams stabbing the murk. Sweden beckons, but Cole spots it first. Pursuit. A Kriegsmarine cutter slicing the fog, searchlight probing. Halt, Dagmar. Contraband check. Olsen curses in 3 tongues. Throttle wide. Waves crash over the bow, icy spray drenching them. Gunfire cracks warning shots. The cutter closes, louder barks. Stop or sink. Davy grabs a crate for ballast, peering aft. Machine guns chatter, bullets zip past. Real now, death by drowning or lead. Olsen veers hard, Dagmar groaning. Escape or watery grave? Can they outrun the hunter or plunge into the Baltic's frozen jaws? Bullets whip past the taffrail, stitching foam into froth as the Dagmar plows through swells like a wounded beast. Davy clings to a stanchion, salt spray blinding him, the Baltic's chill gnawing deeper than Stalag's winters. Cole shouts over the roar. Man the guns? Or pray? Engines scream protest, propellers cavitating in the chaos. Olsen bellows from the bridge. Hold fast. She's Swedish. They'll bluff. The cutter surges closer, a gray wolf on the prowly boat's leak. 88mm cannon glinting malevolent under floodlights. Halt, neutral vessel. Board or fire. Megaphone blares, guttural commands laced with threat. Davy ducks shards of splintered wood from a near-miss heart jackhammering. Neutrality's a thin shield. One contraband crate, one RAF face spotted, and Olsen swings from smuggler to war criminal. Belaudix rattles passengers huddle. Poles, Jews, a Danish resistance courier with scarred knuckles. No arms, just desperation. Cole rummages crates, unearths a very pistol and signal flares. Distraction? Davy nods. Firing skyward crimson stars burst overhead, feigning distress. The cutter hesitates, veers to investigate. Seconds bought. Olsen wrenches the wheel starboard, fog bank swallowing them whole. Pursuit fades to echoes. Engines Doppler away, then circle back. Minutes stretch eternal. Dagmar ghosting through murk on throttled power. Dawn bleeds purple across the horizon. Sweden scaries jagged teeth in the distance. Compass says yes, 20 miles. But fuel gauges flicker red. Olsen's gamble running dry. Whispers ripple. Patrols from Gotland Luftwaffe spotters at first light. Davy surfaces for air, lungs burning. Cole slaps his back. We flew Lancasters through worse. Brotherhood forged in fire. A lookout cries. Sail ho stern chase. The cutter reemerges, defiant, shells arcing long. One smacks the sea nearby, geyser drenching them. Impact shudders the deck. Olsen floors at Dagmar surges, but hull groans, taking water. Leaks? Sinking? Radio crackles to life in the wheelhouse. Swedish Coast Guard, static-laced. Dagmar, this is K1 Gotland. State position interdicting Kriegsmarine intruder. Allies? Salvation whistles through the rigging, but the cutter's cannon booms again, closer. A direct hit could end it all. Will Swedish guns tip the scales, or does one shell find its mark first? Shells scream overhead, one detonating in a thunderclap that rocks the Dagmar starboard, waves clawing over the gunwales. Davy slams into bulkhead, tasting blood and brine, as rigging snaps like bones. Damage control. Olsen roars, crew scrambling with buckets. The cutter looms through parting fog, cannon muzzle flashing orange death. But astern new shapes. Swedish torpedo boats, sleek predators knifing the swells, guns spitting tracer fire. K1 Gotland engaging. Crackles the radio. Triumph cutting panic. Swedish 40mm Bofors hammer the sea, shells straddling the E-boat. The hunter twists. Desperate broadside return fire rakes the water, but falls short. Dagmar limps forward, pumps whining against flooding compartments. Davy and Cole bail furiously, blisters bursting, the Baltic's icy fist squeezing life from the hull. We're not sinking today, Cole gasps, defiant grin splitting coal-black face. The cutter veers off, smoke trailing from its bridge, engines howling retreat into German waters. Cheers erupt across Dagmar's deck. Smugglers, escapees, crew locked in feral embrace. Sweden's coast sharpens. Lighthouses blinking welcome, skerries parting like arms. Tugs meet them at Falsterbo, lines thrown amid chaos. Olsen clasps Davy's shoulder. Your RAF? Himmler wanted you bad. Welcome home. Medics swarm the quay, blankets and cocoa steaming in dawn chill. Davy staggers ashore, knees buckling on solid earth-free soil, after 18 months of barbed hell. Cole whoops as orderlies cart him off, but reality bites quick. Not all made it. BBC, whispers confirm 50, recaptured already, Bushell among them. 50 murdered by Gestapo later, in the woods. Davy's escape? One of 3 RAF successes from 76. The Great Escape's true toll. A rallying cry, not a fairy tale. You can almost feel the sun warming Davy's face as a Wellington circles overhead, dipping wings in salute. Sweden to England. Repatriation flights, family reunions, medals pinned. But scars linger nights haunted by tunnels, checkpoints, that barn doors rattle. He flies again, bombs falling on Berlin, vengeance scripted in fire. The war grinds on, but for Davy Jones, the unbreakable broke free. Real heroes, Bushell, Stevens, Plunkett immortalized in defiance. Their daring? Not myth. Operation 200% success rate, shattered Gestapo complacency, cost Hitler resources, fueled Allied morale. You never knew? Now you do.